Well, I'm a Gemini. No. um, I would say what separates me are two things. Um, uh, my ear, hearing things that other people don't. Um, One of my friends is like put on a review, and he's like he hears stuff that dogs don't hear. It's not that good, but you know what I'm saying, like masks and things in songs that people don't hear. And then the way I work, um, I think is sets me apart, and is a strength because I do everything in best practices. Like nothing that I do is willy nilly. It's with a purpose, and I don't run around like a chicken with my head cut off. But I work pretty fast, and because of the way I do things, it comes out faster than most. Do you know what I mean? Um, but but I don't do things at warp speed because then the problem with that is you miss something, you know, and then you've sort of painted yourself in a corner, and then okay, well I gotta wait till it dries to walk out of here. You know, I'm not a fan of that. So,
Okay, cool. What do you consider to be some of your weaknesses?
hmm. Um, well, I don't think it's a weakness, but you could turn that around. Okay, so if I hear things that people don't hear, um, why are you doing that? Or um, and with the best practices stuff, I stick to that, and I mean, so people think that that may be inflexible, but it's like if you want the result that you want, that you've told me you wanted, you know what I mean? Like I mean, I talk to people extensively on the phone before they even come here. I meet them here. There's a lot of things before we hit the record button, you know. So a lot of people don't like that because they call me up. Can I come in an hour? And I'm like, no, I don't work like that. There has to be a plan. There has to be a way. Now, some people think that or can see that as rigid or it being inflexible, and I get it. You know, it's not like I'm not aware of it, but in the same respect, it's like I don't know how to do it any other way. So um, if you found somebody that can do it, the way you think it should be done, and then pick that studio. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not in a bad way or anything like that, but it just, um, I do. So if I had to say a weakness, it would be in the way my workflow works. If that doesn't exactly jive with someone, they might take that the wrong way.
And let me ask you this: how do you deal with pressure or stressful situations?
Well, um, you just got to work a plan, right? So, uh, I'm actually teaching a class right now, believe it or not, and of how to be an audio engineer. And the one thing that I'm teaching my student is, um, you have to know how everything's routed. You have to know, people go, do you know what all those knobs do? And my joke to them is, no, I close my eyes and hope for the best. But yeah, because I pick those pieces and for a reason, right? And so if you have a plan, anything that goes off the rails isn't really a problem. You know what I mean? Like because everybody just, um, I try to have a very relaxing environment here, so that it's not super tense, and that. But if you know where things are routed and how they're plugged in and what your plan is, then I can quickly run backwards to, hey, the kick mic isn't working. Well, why isn't it working? And you work your way backwards to it. Um, so I run down problems fairly quickly. Um, the only exception is when I put a new processor in my guitar in my computer. Then yeah, that's
It's
so.
gonna be stressful. Yeah,
And it's like, oh my god, why is this working?
CPU issues. All right, let me ask you this: what motivates you?
hmm. Excellence. Next question.
Excellent. Yeah, next.
No, you know,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, I got you, man.
no, but I mean, I strive for perfection. I'm yet to yeah, I'm yet to sniff it, but you know what I mean. But if you don't, then I mean, I guess the same thing that I did with Rock Rewind. Like I wasn't expecting to go play the local neighborhood bar because if you aim here and miss, you're playing bar mitzvahs. You know what I'm saying? But and nothing wrong with that. But whereas if you aim to play at Disney and you end up at Cedar Point, okay, you know what I mean, or whatever. So I'm aiming as high as it can possibly be, and if you miss, it's certainly at a professional level.
All right, let me ask you a little bit of an obscure question. If you were an animal, which one would you be?
Hmm. Um, I could have better answered a superhero, but an animal. Hmm.
What about superhero?
The Hulk,
The Hulk.
of course. Um, but an animal, that's interesting. Hmm. I would say like a killer whale
Okay.
because they're super smart, super strong. Um, you know what I mean? Don't have very many weaknesses. You know, same with Hulk.
They're top of the food chain. All right. What's your favorite quote and why?
Hmm. Well, my joke would be "Get off my lawn." No. I don't know. That's a really good one. Um, hmm.
You'd have to think about it.
No, my favorite quote is "Good morning, children" from Fab. He every time he comes on stage or into a video, he goes, "Good morning, children." So that's my favorite quote.
That's awesome. All right. Let me ask you about like hip hop, rap, R&B recording
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Well, the 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 funny thing is, people open the door, look at me, and go, "Y'all do rap?" Um, and you know, when I taught at school, um, and my principal asked me to teach music, which was in my mind was a very bad idea because I don't teach. I don't know how to read music, and like I said before, those kinds of things. Um, and so I got the twangiest country song. No, okay, I teach Cleveland inner city, right? So I have a bunch of young African American kids coming into the auditorium going, "Oh my God, Mr. Nichols, please stop." And I'm, playing up the country music because they're just like, "Oh my God, please stop this." And I said, "Okay," I stopped it. They're, "Oh, thank God." And some of them were my basketball players and stuff, so they knew I was goofing around. But and I said, "How many people think I can turn this into a rap song?" And there's no way on God's green earth you could do that. So I took out the twangy elements, slowed it down, put in a hi hat, and then played it again. And they're like, "Wow, that's a really cool rap song." And then I sped it up and put the twangy thing in, and they're like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Guys, music is music, right?" So as long as when you're mixing, you are accentuating the um, what is the defining elements of rap or rock or anything, as long as you are are paying attention to those rules, music is music. You mix it and um, stick to your best practices, stick to your plan, and the music comes out great.
Awesome.
One question really quick. Is mixing the different genres different in how you produce the final item?
Yes and no. You know what I mean? Um, so a metal kick drum is going to be different than a rap kick drum, but they're both taking up the same space sonically in music, right? So you might treat them a little differently, but they're in the same space, right? And I always kind of put it like as a sandwich. So you have bread, you have the meat of your sandwich, lettuce, tomato, other bread. You can't have the tomato in the top bread. You can't have the meat in the bottom bread. You can't have the lettuce into the meat. You know what I mean? They have to be elements that kind of stand around. I mean, a little bit they have to fit together, but if you look at it from that point of view, um, you're and you do the best practices kind of things like make sure that you're not too loud going in and out of the interface, and without boring you with like stupid technical stuff, those levels are set for a reason, right? um, all of those kind of things. I mean, I get tracks where the first element I put a plug-in on to see where it is meter wise, and it's clipping the plug-in. The only thing left to do is turn it down. I mean, you can't start with a mix clipping a plug-in. So that's best practice.